All right, everybody worldwide, you're now tuned into Motivation and Confidence, where we help you do your daily best. And I'm your host, Tom Danger. Back this week with a new episode. And this week we're at episode number 54, talking about gadgets. Gadgets that can basically help you. So it got me to thinking. I started thinking, what was the very first gadget that I had? And I'm not talking about toys. I'm just talking about like a true gadget, like a gadget that you wanted as a teenager or a young adult, and it became a tool toward your creativity or productivity, right? So I've been lucky enough to dig out the very first gadget that I've ever had, and it's actually a sampler because I am an artist always involved in music, and this is the Roland MS-1, right? Now, I got this when I was about 15 years old. It was a package, an audio package that was in a magazine at the Source at the time from a audio shop or musical instrument shop that was located way out in Brooklyn, probably a 2-hour ride from where I live. Saved up my coins and I got this sampler with a 4-track Tascam recorder. And I think it also came with a Shure MS-1 microphone. And I did a lot of stuff on this bad boy here. I mean, it only can record probably on 2 tracks at a time, but I did a lot of joints on this. And the timing was really short because I couldn't afford the extendable scan disk card or memory card that would go in there at the time. So I could only use the internal memory, in which I think it was probably about, I want to say 10 to 12 seconds. That's all that you had. So you had to slow it down as much as you could to sort of get as much sound in it as possible. And then you just sort of layer the tracks and sort of pitch blend to get everything on beat. And you throw that into Cakewalk at the time and you let it rock. But because it had sort of like an analog type of feel to it, the sound on it, it bangs. It bangs, right? So I used this to set up my own in-home studio back at the time. I went to high school with a producer by the name of Bruce Wayne, Midi Mafia. They did 21 Questions with 50 Cent, joints with J-Lo, Justin Bieber, and all that. And fortunate enough, he was actually, me and my boy Left did a demo. And he passed it off to a record label I think he was on at the time called Tribal Records, and got us in at the door as Tribal Records through Polydor. Passed off the demo that we did basically on post-production on this machine here, and then we took the rest of it to a studio to mix it down and finalize it. And that got us our foot in the door, but that's a whole nother episode. We can take that to another, save that for another podcast when we talk about Tommy Danger, the Now or Later Man, and DJ Left, and the mixtapes and DVDs and all that stuff. But this particular piece of equipment was essential in the production and in the productivity growing up as a teenager and a young adult, you know, moving sounds and getting work done, right? So then we fast forward, let's say 20, 30 years, right? And the main gadget that all of us have right now is your cell phone, right? Now, I don't really get into brands of cell phones and all that stuff, but with my cell phone in particular, I use it for not only just making phone calls, but checking work email, personal email, and I also at one point, for probably the first, I want to say 20 episodes, I used an application or an app called, that we use right now. It's called Spreaker, right? So I used the Spreaker app to basically record. It's a Spreaker Studio. Take a look at it. And this is what I used to record all of my podcasts. And the good thing about Spreaker is, you know, there's no excuse not to record, because you can basically just pop open the app, you hit record, you can go live. It comes with built-in sound effects. You can hear it here, can we? Oh. All right. right? If you are online with people, you can chat with people. And after you finish recording, basically, you can just hit upload your cover art, do your podcast description, put your tags in it, and let it rip. And that's what I did for the first 20 episodes. I had to figure out a way to where there was no excuse for me not to get through a year's worth of podcasts, which is basically 52 episodes, because I wanted to drop one every week to get the content out there and build up some material. So Spreaker has been essential in my productivity and getting the work done and setting up the podcast. And I thank everybody who tunes in and listens, right? So then, besides that, there are a ton of apps that I also use. Another app that I use frequently is one called Crowdfire, right? And Crowdfire is basically used as a social media content scheduler. And what you can do is you can have multiple accounts set up on Crowdfire, and from there you can integrate your Twitter, your Facebook, your Instagram, your Pinterest, your LinkedIn, your YouTube, your blog, your WordPress, Twitch, Vimeo, and you can set up content to basically work on its own 24 hours. So usually, I want to say like twice a week, maybe 3 times a week, I'll spend 10 minutes just gathering content sort of related to the overall branding message of motivation and confidence. So I'll find some entrepreneur articles, I find lots of quotes, I'll repost a lot of the podcasts, things that just keep people in tune with what's going on. And it's a really small fee. I didn't mention like Spreaker is really small too. I think it's about $20 a month. Crowdfire is about the same thing. It's about $20 a month. But it's basically something that I have to use in order to keep people checking for what's going on with motivation and confidence, okay? So that's that. Definitely my cell phone, video, audio, content scheduling, social media, everything. Gotta have the cell phone, right? So then after we started getting more involved in the podcast and we wanted to step up the quality of the content, we did a couple things. There's one more app that I won't go into, but it's an app called Canvas. And Canvas is basically an app where you can design the cool looking background drops, and it gives you that slick feel of like a magazine cover or commercial content. You can they have thousands of templates. You can go in there, change the background, change the font, but the final product is always a professional looking backdrop, and that's what we use now for probably the last 20 different posts that we put up. But then when it came to the sound, we wanted to have a more professional type of sound. So we did some research, and we'll show you the gadget that we're using right now, and it's a Tascam audio recorder. And this is a tool that we use now on a daily basis. It has 4 different tracks on it, 4 different inputs. I don't want to flip the mics out because my audio is going to sound kind of crazy, but it has unidirectional mics. You could also connect external mics at the bottom. You can have 4 different people recording at the same time on different tracks. So when you go to edit, you can keep your edits in line. You don't have to worry about the volume peaking or being too low for the overall production. You can adjust it for each person. You can pop out the sound card, drop it into your laptop, do your editing. It actually comes with onboard special effects. And this is the DR40. You can get that on Amazon. I think I bought it used for, I want to say about $180. But again, so like when you're on the road, I try to do things to where there's no excuse not for me to produce something. The same thing for you. For those of you who want to start podcasts, I recommend you start with your phone. You get an app, you record on it. If you don't want to get an app, there's always a recording feature that's on your phone to where you can record. Just record something, upload it, put it out there. Just make content. You got to constantly put content out. And the more content you put out, you develop your style, you develop your ideas, but the biggest thing is getting started. Don't hesitate and think that you need to have any of these tools that I have here to say like, oh, I gotta wait till I get a particular type of camera, or wait till I get a particular audio recorder, or I need a particular program, or I need to have, no. Record, and put it out. You know, ask people for their comments, ask people to share it. The main thing is engagement. Get people engaged in what you're doing and make it work for you if this is what you want to do. All right, so Tascam DR40 is what we use. I'm going to skip over this one. I'm going to go to my handy dandy PowerShot SX510 by Canon. Now, this HD camera is really small. You don't really have any attachments. You don't have the manual powerful lens. Small screen at the back for you to check out. It's nothing crazy, but the quality of it is really good. It is simple to use. We've shot several of our reviews on there. If you go to the YouTube page, you'll check out the Harry's review we shot with this camera, the Schwinn bike review we shot with this camera. What else did we do? We did some cool stuff, like all the shaving videos we shot with this camera. We did the Philips toothbrush with this camera. Again, as long as your lighting is good, the onboard microphone is pretty decent, not the best, but the video quality is really good, indoor, outdoor. And this is another piece of equipment that became essential to our productivity and creating content. So this is something that we use all the time. And to go back to the camera, the onboard camera on this particular phone, you know, before I had the Honor 8, but that got wet when I was running in the rain, so I had to upgrade to a waterproof camera. So this one is the Samsung Galaxy 8, I believe, and the HD camera on this one is incredible too. So if you don't have anything else, if you don't have any other gadget, you should be doing everything with your cell phone. No excuse. Just, again, shoot, create content, record, and that's what you do. Lastly, we get to the fun things, right? And I got this Echo probably about 2 years ago, right? And, you know, at first, I mean, I want to say I had the Chromecast first. And, you know, Chrome is just a streaming device. So you have your phone, whatever's on your phone, you can stream it to your TV or whatever. But the Echo is so much more, right? The Echo is basically like Amazon in your pocket, right? Anything you could do on Amazon, you could pretty much do on the Echo and then some. This one is, you know, the Dot, which is really small. They had the traditional one, which is like a cylindrical tube, which was 3 times the cost. You had to get on a waiting list and all this fancy stuff. But no, the Dot, you know, you just say, hey Alexa, order me some pizza. Boom, Domino's app opens up. Really good for the kids if they don't know how to look up things on the internet, which they should. But you could also just say, Alexa, what is the definition of this word? You know, it's just like searching the internet, but it's in front of you, you know, and that's what I enjoy about it. But the biggest thing that I use the Echo for is for music, right? If you find your favorite music, you could just go online, search for it, and I think it costs you about $3.99 a month to have access to an unlimited catalog. And since I'm a music lover and, you know, I like to call myself a music connoisseur, I definitely use the Echo to research a lot of music and content, and check out the weather for the day, and make voice notes and messages, and you can just download. Like, the possibilities are endless, and I can go on and on. I mean, I actually have like a special bag that I have with my go-to gadgets, and it's like a bunch of junk in there. Maybe I'll do like a part 2 so you can just see how bad I have it. But I have it really, really bad for gadgets. But again, I always like to make sure that the gadgets are essential to something that's being used toward productivity. So I don't like to get, you know, a gadget just to be like, oh, a novelty. No, it has to do something for me. It has to help what I'm doing. And I'm curious to know what gadgets you use. Hit us up, leave us a comment. And as always, like, subscribe, and share. Thank you for listening and watching. This is Motivation and Confidence, where we help you do your daily best. And next week, we're going to talk about, what are we going to talk about next week? I think I made a note about it. It's like, how do you turn negative thoughts into positive when you have death on your mind. And we're not talking about suicide, so let's not confuse it. We're just talking about changing a negative thought into a positive one in a story that I want to share growing up when everyone was dying around me and I had the same frame of mind, like life didn't matter because I thought I was going to go down the path of everyone else as a young black man. But that'll be next week on Motivation and Confidence. Tune in. Thank you.